Welcome to Pride in Parsippany. I'm your host, Mayor James Barberio, and today with me I have the Chief of EMS, Dean Snook. Welcome aboard today.
Mayor, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm going to ask you several questions, and we've gotten to know each other over the last 7 years, and give you a little history about yourself, and not just that, and the background of the EMS and how it started.
Okay. I started in a family of volunteers on the fire department and ambulance squad in my hometown when I was 16 years old. I joined right away because I wanted to be involved in the community and kind of found my niche with emergency medical services. Once I graduated high school, I went on to become a paramedic through the Union County College paramedic program, and did all my internship and field training through St. Barnabas Medical Center in Livingston, and learned a tremendous amount there, had a great education, and was fortunate in the midst of that when Parsippany started up their paid emergency medical services to become a part-time employee here. And that kind of is what led into me ultimately coming back to get to know you here in Parsippany. So it's been a long ride, and it's been a great ride in many aspects, both personally and professionally, and I look forward to continuing to move.
Okay, explain one thing though, because I know you said paid, but explain how that works, because it's not, if you don't have insurance, then, explain how it all works.
Right, so Parsippany, in an effort to provide an excellent standard of care, has a unique delivery of service. They have 2 volunteer ambulance squads who are very committed to the community, and during the peak hours, as we like to call it, so those higher volume times of calls where the population is really increased in Parsippany, Monday through Friday especially, we have what's called the paid emergency medical services on duty. So we have town employees who staff 2 state licensed ambulances, and they're emergency medical technicians certified through the state of New Jersey. We, and I say we, the town, does bill for that service, but there is an ordinance in place that if you're a town resident, they do what's called insurance billing. So they only take what the insurance company can pay. There's no out-of-pocket expense to the town resident.
Right. And if you have no insurance?
And if you have no insurance, then again, there's no out-of-pocket expense. It's written off because you're a member of the community, and in some form, obviously, you're paying a tax or a rental to a property that pays taxes. So it keeps it so that nobody has to worry. They call 911 and the care is there and available.
And what's great about the EMS, and I firsthand, you're very proactive, especially when it comes to child passenger safety, and you run that program. Can you explain that program to the residents?
In 2013, Partroy EMS saw a need to bring what's kind of known as car seat inspections back to the town. Child passenger safety is a very a big subject amongst everyone in the nation. There are injuries and illnesses associated with improper usage of the car seat, whether it's not installed right and there's an accident, or straps aren't installed right and there's a medical emergency that occurs. So myself and a multitude of my staff members have undergone child passenger safety technician training. It's a 4-day class that's both practical and classroom application. And now what we do here in Parsippany is by appointment. You can call and we'll get you in at the Parsippany Community Center, and we can inspect your car seat, do an install of a new car seat, and make sure that your child is all ready to go. And then yearly, as you know, because you're our big sponsor and supporter of it, we hold a what's called Safe Kids Event Day, where we partner with Atlantic Health System, Morristown Medical Center, who is the leader of Northern New Jersey Safe Kids, and at Town Hall, in a pre-designated time frame. Generally, we start in the morning and end in the afternoon, like 9 to 2. You can come in, no appointment needed, and we'll inspect your car. If you have a van and 4 car seats, we'll do all 4 car seats. And it's a great service that's been very successful. The last couple of years here in Parsippany, from what I understand through the folks we work with at Morristown with the Safe Kids Coalition, our event in Parsippany that we always have is actually one of the events that yields the most seat checks in the area.
So I know, because I know when you do it, it's packed. I mean, I see the cars are lined up, and you guys do an extraordinary job as well. Now, your role as a chief, explain your role as a chief, a technician, or whatever, how all that works.
I guess the answer is I serve at your pleasure?
Yeah, I guess so.
No,
you don't have to worry about that because you do a great job.
As the chief of EMS, I have a multitude of responsibilities. First and foremost is the overall operation of Partroy EMS, coordination of staffing, deployment of units, positioning of those units to meet response time guidelines to get the ambulance to the emergency as quick and as safe as possible. I also oversee all of our what's the clinical side and training side of our operation to make sure we're compliant with New Jersey 840 regulations, which is what governs the delivery of emergency medical services for a licensed entity in New Jersey. And then really anything that comes up, from scene operations on a large-scale incident down to if there is a customer complaint or something we need to look further into. The biggest, like I said, the biggest thing is making sure those daily operations go forth, and then all the back stuff that comes with it, the administrative side, the scheduling, payroll, and just overall maintenance of records, again, both on that operations side and on that training side. As a licensed provider under the state of New Jersey, we are subject to audit without notice. So that means a state official from the Office of Emergency Medical Services could either stop one of our ambulances as they see them out and about in the community or at the hospital and do what's called a spot inspection. They could come into our business office and say they wanted to see all of our files to make sure everything's up to date. And we have to be ready for that at all times. So that means we have a lot of attention to detail is needed every day.
I'll tell you, just recently I was at the scene of an accident, and you guys were there, EMS was there. Everybody was there that was working like clockwork. But one of the things that really impressed me was in the accident, the one person couldn't speak any English. I guess they spoke Italian, and one of your EMS members, one of our employees, spoke and guided them through in the language that they understood. I know we don't all have that, but it was nice that person went out of their way. I can't remember his name. I wish I could.
It was Bob.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me about the call. A lot of us in our department over the years, because we try to bring people into the community that become staff members in Parsippany that have a diverse level of experience,
right,
both medically and personally and professionally. We want to bring a well-rounded individual in. And a lot of us over the years have picked up on, whether it be something with sign language, Spanish, Italian, another language that we may or may not be familiar with. And we don't necessarily speak it fluently, but we can get those necessity information pieces out of a patient at the scene of an accident, and then we can alert a hospital when we're coming in saying, hey, we need a translator for this language, but we at least know maybe what medicines they take, if they know what happened, if they can tell us what's wrong, do they feel better, do they feel worse? So some of those basic things that you need to get done in those first few minutes of an emergency, and in the case of where you were at, we got lucky that Bob was working that day, I guess.
Because you comforted that lady very much, and it was nice to see, because she was shaken up, she was nervous, but he comforted her and made her feel, hey, listen, I'm okay. So now you've been how many years now again you've been EMS?
So I am for the town. I'm in my 11th year in my role as chief of Partroy EMS,
okay,
and I served for a year prior when Partroy EMS was first brought about in 2002, and I left briefly when I attained my paramedic certification, and then, like I said, I was fortunate to be rehired back as the chief in 2005, and I've been here since. So,
all those years, 11 years. Explain to us some of your accomplishments. You feel that EMS and Parsippany.
One thing, and I always say this because I always say a leader is not any good if he or she doesn't have a good team under them. So the accomplishments I say are department accomplishments for Partroy EMS, because I'm very fortunate to have a great group of men and women that work under me and work extremely hard for the greater good. One thing that I was always taught as I went through my educational and personal growth is that you need to lead by example, and they know that there is nothing that I would ask them to do that I wouldn't do first. With that said, I think one of the big accomplishments is the child passenger safety that we talked about, doing those car seat checks and keeping our children safe. One program that we recently kind of divulged into in later 2015 was a car fit program for seniors, and that was done in conjunction with our Office on Aging, Health and Social Services, which is under Director Michelle Picone. And what we did was a few of us that are also car seat technicians, along with Michelle, went to class for car fit. By far is it as in-depth of a class as the child passenger safety, but it's the same concept. We want to bring our seniors in and basically say, is your car fit for you? Does your seatbelt go on the right way? Is your seat adjusted the right way? Can you see out of your mirrors? Do we notice any maintenance needs that need to be addressed? Do we need to refer them to a shop to get a headlight fixed or something like that? And there's kind of almost called a formula of steps that we would go through to make sure that they're fit for their car, so that there's not distracted driving issues because they can't see, because their seat's not adjusted and stuff like that. So I think that some of those safety initiatives, from the child passenger safety and our safety of our seniors, they're very big accomplishments for us. And one of the other things that we're really working on now is really trying to partner with other organizations within our community and some of the communities around us to see how we can collectively assist each other, because everybody knows the growing need of just Morris County, the state in general. You got to work together, because if you don't work together, you're kind of going to be fighting an uphill battle. And we're very unique here in Parsippany, where we have a multitude of resources. We have a very forward-thinking administration, and I think that some of these partnerships that we're working on and have worked out over the years have been key to our success, as well as the overall success of the department.
Well, it's important because one of our neighboring towns, Mountain Lakes, we spoke with them, and they're really excited to be hopefully working with us. I got to tell you, I mean, I grew up in Parsippany, and we've grown in the daytime it's immensely. One thing, though, since I've been the mayor, that I think that we lack, and I don't mean the EMS lacks, is we need to get a building. And I'm going to let you elaborate on that, because it's important the residents know that, our vehicles are parked outside, and they're not really made or built that way. They need to be inside. And could you explain that to the residents, why we need to have our own? And possibly we are looking at, ladies and gentlemen, and staffing up in the other section in the powder mill area over there, having an ambulance up there as well.
So that's actually some good question, Mayor, and I think that's maybe I almost call it a collective accomplishment we'll bring up. During the day, Monday through Friday, we did work collectively with Fire District 1, which is known as the Mount Tabor Fire Department, to station one of our on-duty ambulances up in the Powder Mill Fire Station, because they had room there, in an effort to decrease those response times to that side of our community. It also helped bridge a little bit of a gap, because we have garage space there, so that on-duty ambulance can be inside in a climate-controlled bay. A lot's in, especially this weather with the winter, just to take the hose and clean some of that excess salt off and stuff like that, and not have to worry about it freezing outside or creating like an icing condition. But going forward overall, to really touch on your question now, we're definitely in need of looking at a building. I think we've worked very hard, all of us, to establish the roots that are here of the entity, and it does continue to grow. And we really need to look to find some type of, as I'll call it, a centralized station somewhere in that Route 46 corridor, so we can have a main hub of deployment, so those vehicles can be inside. We can get some, greater life expectancy out of, the vehicle, just from a general wear and tear standpoint. Door seals, the paint fading. Not that the paint changes how we take care of the patient, but let's face it, one thing leads to another, and a small problem escalates into a bigger problem. So, it's tough right now in the winter. As part of our internal policies, what we do is some of our primary equipment, including some of the medications we carry, basically, for argument's sake of temperature from November 15th to April 15th, at the end of the day, the crews are bringing all their equipment inside to our office that we have in the community center, so that main equipment that includes our medications, our oxygen bags and stuff like that, stay warm and are ready for deployment immediately in the morning, because with some of these nights where it dips down below freezing, there's equipment that between battery life or different like our saline solutions and stuff like that, and the medications that are temperature sensitive, we have to be very careful with that stuff. So it would be great, as we move forward, to explore the feasibility of a building for just overall general efficiency and ultimately a cost savings on that back end.
Because I know that during the winter time, you can't shut the vehicles off. Explain to why. I know you plug them in. Now, when you plug your vehicles in at night, is it the base of the motor? I don't know why.
So the plug side of things, which is known as a shoreline in the ambulance, or the fire truck, or those emergency vehicles. In our case, in the ambulances, what that shoreline does is it, in the wintertime, activates an engine block heater just to keep the oil at I'll call it a tepid temperature, so it's just warm enough for the vehicle to start. It also powers a trickle charger to maintain battery conditioning on the overnight or on those off-service times, and it will charge any equipment we have plugged into the outlets that are inside the patient compartment. That would be, they work on both sides. They're powered when the truck's running, and they're powered when the ambulance is shut off and plugged in. Obviously, during the day, the issue is when the ambulance is on duty and it has to be in what's called ready status, the patient compartment has to be maintained at a proper temperature. In the summer and 90-degree humidity, we need the air conditioning. In the below 30 weather in the winter, we need the heat. And we all know how our cars are, starting them up cold or starting them up hot, depending on how you want to look at it, until you get to that comfortable temperature. Say, okay, it's going to be an okay ride. You know, when I'm going down the Parkway to the Jersey Shore, that's 10 or 15 minutes. Starting that engine from a cold start, and if you're 5 minutes away from the call, which you hope they are because we want to get the ambulance there as quick as possible, that ambulance isn't going to be warm enough or cool enough in the back yet if that engine hasn't been already kept up to temperature. Right. And you know, that's a big hurdle because there's lots of concerns with the vehicle idling, you know, in terms of a lot of the cleaner air initiatives and stuff like that. And there's a lot of gray area of what's an exempt situation, what's not an exempt situation. So it's kind of an uphill battle that we, you know, we're always kind of trying to establish a best practice. But, you know, in the end, we have to keep our staff members comfortable if we expect them to be in that ambulance for the 12 hours of the day. And ultimately, we have to have that ambulance ready to go to take care of that patient. And what people don't realize is that depending on what medical or traumatic condition you may have, the temperature, whether it be cold or hot, could adversely affect the care being provided. We could provide the best possible care, but if I'm having trouble breathing, putting me in a cold ambulance is going to be detrimental to me potentially.
I have, listen, in Parsippany, we are definitely going to be looking on in the future, hopefully this year and next year, on getting a building for the EMS because, in a centralized building if we can, because Parsippany is 25.2 square miles. I mean, and to get from Lake Hiawatha all the way down to another section of Parsippany, no fault of the EMS could take a while. So centralized location and actually something up in those areas in the higher grounds of Parsippany and the Morris Plains border. We'll have to get something up there as well. Public safety, and that's why, Dean, you do such a great job. Public safety is one of the first initiatives of this administration, and you follow it very well, and you do a great job. This will be the last question. What's your vision for the EMS? You know, and I know you have a vision because I see your excitement. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean excitement. He really cares, and he really cares for the residents, and he loves what he does. And I could tell you, it doesn't even feel like a job to you because you're doing exactly what you love. And I can tell you, I've been with Dean for 7 years. I've been a little rough on him in the past, but he always performs and always does. I'm always satisfied, and so is the whole town and the council. So just in the closing statement, what would you say your vision is?
I think the vision for the future is growth. Growth for the agency as a whole in terms of our role within the township, working with our fire departments, with our ambulance squads, our surrounding communities, and obviously administration. And growth personally and professionally for all my employees and myself. We have some upcoming training that we're putting everybody through this year to kind of, you know, niche into the readiness that we need to be in for, God forbid, that situation arises of an active shooter or some type of mass casualty incident, you know, around these homeland security threats that are out there, as well as all the training that we go through to keep our skills sharp, because I firmly believe in having the best of the best. We're not perfect, but every day we're going to work to be perfect. Never going to accomplish it, because if you think you accomplish it, you should probably just move on and do something else at that point. So I think growth is really my vision for the future, like I said, for the department, and of course encouraging the personal and professional growth for myself and all those that serve under me.
In closing for myself, I will say this. During the 2 hurricanes that we had, Irene and Hurricane Sandy, you were instrumental down at the community center. And you got to know, you know, the people love you over there. The seniors love you, of course. I mean, and the fact that, you know, you represent the township, myself, and you do a great job. And during those 2 storms, I know I was down there a lot. You were always there aiding and helping the residents out. And as a mayor, I want to thank you for that. I never probably had the opportunity to thank you, but thank you anyway. And I know that, you know, you love what you do, and I love that you do it. So, and that saying that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in once again to Pride in Parsippany. And until next time, God bless everybody. Thank you.